Hare Krishna, Radha Kunj Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Prabhu.
To Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
My humble obeisances, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. Nice to see you again, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Please bless me, Prabhu, to become Krishna conscious.
I like your mood always, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. I finally figured out to see everyone, because every time, I don't know who is there. I was just looking at the screen and talking. So today I'm seeing all these profiles of devotees. I'm getting scared. Okay, I will start. Lingaraji Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brinda Baneswari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all very much for this opportunity to share, to read, and opportunity to glorify, to share something about from Srimad Bhagavatam. Very, very thankful for your blessings and association. So we are in this chapter, finally, in the 13th chapter, which says Dhritarashtra quits home. It's a very, very important chapter, actually. Maybe I like to say each chapter is very, very important because it's Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is very important. But And this chapter is very relatable for us in the sense that Dhritarashtra, we know from Bhagavad Gita, and also the history from Mahabharata, he's way attached to be the king. Right? For that reason, when one is attached, right, they do what not. For this reason, he was involved in so many, even though he was a king, so many bad things. He tried to somehow or other usurp the kingdom from the Pandavas. But, Krishna's mercy, Pandavas are blessed with the kingdom anyway, this way or that way. Even then, he still wants to be the king. So much so that even now at this point of time, then the section where we are, so Kurukshetra battle is done. All his 100 sons were killed. He just left with daughter-in-laws and other people. Even then, he is still attached to be a king. Okay, so that is attachment. But his brother Vidura, his younger brother Vidura, takes compassion upon him and comes back and does the magic. So the effect of the magic is that this way attached Dhritarashtra, the chapter title says, quits home. Quits, his attachment to being the king and the opulences in the facilities and opulences in the palace, and gets perfected. So that's the secret of this chapter. So the hero for this chapter is Vidura. The theme for this chapter is that saintly association. And Vidura, as we have heard from Shatarupa yesterday, that he learned very nicely on the destination of the soul. Actually, Prabhupada says that the translation says he becomes very, let me see. He becomes well versed in the subject. The subject is the destination of soul. And he had this great association from Maitreya Muni. And then, he has nothing to come back, but he takes great compassion, on his brother Dhritarashtra. Because he has a relationship with his brother, so he decides to come back. We can also relate. When a sadhu is coming to our town or home, it's always the teaching of Bhagavatam. They're not coming for any other purpose except enlightening us in Krishna consciousness. So when Vidura comes back, of course, this section specifically says that he was the most beloved relative because Vidura was their relative. But the secret actually is that, Yudhishthira Maharaj is going to say, he is perfected. He fully became purified. He became the pure soul. So much so Yudhishthira Maharaj in the later verses says, actually, the personalities like you, who are saints, is actually pilgrimage personified. Right? So when he comes back, like, it was like a, you can say big commotion. Actually, the translation in the text says, it so appeared that the people in the palace, they had regained their consciousness after a long period. It was like that feeling, like we also read about and heard about how it was when Krishna came back to Dwarka, to the Dwarkavasis. They just poured their heart. My Lord, when you are not there, it was like we are not seeing the sun. You came back finally, and then they're offering a lot of gifts and all that, right? It was a festive when Krishna came back in the previous chapter. even, and we see the feelings of separation and the way they receive, especially from the queens and all that. Here, it was like that, with the saint or pure devotee of Krishna, Vidura. And these feelings, the regaining of consciousness was just expressed by great personalities. And we're going to touch upon them. Now we'll start the verse. Tam bandham agatam drustva dharma putra sahanujaha datarastra yusascha suta saradvata prita Gandhari Draupadi Brahman Shubhadra Chottara Krupi Anyascha Jamaya Pandor Jnataya Sachuta Striyaha Tam Bandhum Agata Drustva. Tam, him, Bandhum, relative, Vidura, Agatam, having arrived there, Drustva, by seeing it, Dharmaputra Yudhishthira, Sahanuja, along with his brothers, Dhritarashtra, his brother Dhritarashtra, Yusaha Satyaki, Cha and Suta Sanjaya, Saradvataha Krupacharya, Prita, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Brahman, Brahmanas, Shubhadra, Cha and Uttara was also there. Kripi, Anya, others, Cha and Jamaya, wives of other family members also. Basically, everyone in the palace. When seeing Vidura came back to the palace, Yudhishthira Maharaj, his brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Krupacharya, Kunti Devi, Gandhari, Shubhadra, Draupadi, and even other family members, which includes the wives of the Kauravas, of the Pandavas, Jnataya, family members, Sahasuta, along with their sons, Striya, ladies. They were all so delighted. So the translation goes, when they saw Vidura return to the palace, all inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthira, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Krupacharya, Kunti, Draupadi, Gandhari, Shubhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas, and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. So that's the context here. But today's discussion, Prabhupada goes more into the some of the profiles of these great people who came to receive, who hurried to come in, see him in great delight. And he only focuses on 4 personalities. Prabhupada lists them as chaste personalities. So that's the reason today's topic is chaste. So just the idea is that to appreciate, such great personalities, here we are going to discuss about chaste personalities. How are they receiving a pure soul or a sadhu? Or, why, like basically we all want to follow, great personalities, right? Krishna also says. Similarly, what is their caliber? And knowing that may inspire us also to imbibe their mood and their value system. Okay, so we will start with Gandhari. That's what Prabhupada starts in the translation. Purport. Gandhari, the ideal chaste lady in the history of the world. In the history of the world. So she is called the ideal chaste lady. She was the daughter of Maharaj Subala, the king of Gandhara, now Kandahar in Kabul, and in her maiden state, she worshipped Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is generally worshipped by Hindu maidens to get a good husband. Gandhari satisfied Lord Shiva, and by his benediction, to obtain 100 sons. She was betrothed to Dhritarashtra despite his being blind forever. So Dhritarashtra is blind. And when Gandhari came to know that her would-be husband was a blind man, to follow her life companion, she decided to become voluntarily blind. You see the image here. And actually, we're going to read, she's also most beautiful lady, pretty caliber. Her chastity is that, because her would-be husband is blind, that's it. I also collected this image to really say, because we know this Gandhari and the blindness and everything, and just skips our mind. But this picture really says she literally covered her eyes voluntarily forever, with that cloth, dark cloth. And through that, actually, she became very powerful. So much so we hear from the other parts of the literature that she was the reason that Duryodhana becomes unconquerable. Of course, Krishna does the magic, but that's his caliber now. So she even curses the Supreme Personality Godhead. That's her caliber. Okay. So going back to Gandhari. So she wrapped up her eyes with many silken linens, and she was married to Dhritarashtra under the guidance of her elder brother Shakuni. She was the most beautiful girl of her time, and she was equally qualified by her womanly qualities also, which endeared every member of the Kaurava court. Pretty capable, right? Beautiful qualities, chastity, culture. That's Gandhari. So no wonder she's a chaste lady in the histories of the world. But despite all her good qualities, she had the natural frailties of a woman, and she was envious of Kunti when the latter gave birth to a male child. Basically, both the queens were pregnant, but Kunti first gave birth to a male child. Thus, Gandhari became angry and gave a blow to her own abdomen. As a result, she gave birth to a lump of flesh only. But since she was a devotee of Vyasadeva, by the instruction of Vyasadeva, the lump was divided into 100 parts, and each part gradually developed to become a male child. So thus becomes the 100, but becomes the mother of 100 sons, or 100 Kauravas. Okay. Thus, her ambition to become the mother of 100 sons was fulfilled, and she began to nourish all the children according to her exalted position. Okay, furthermore, when the intrigue of the battle of Kurukshetra was going on, she was not in favor of fighting with the Pandavas. Rather, she blamed Dhritarashtra, her husband, for such a fratricidal war. She desired that the state be divided into 2 parts for the sons of Pandu and her own. She was very affected when all her sons died in the battle of Kurukshetra. And previous part is she doesn't want the Kurukshetra war. She just tells her husband just give them their kingdom. Just divide into half. But anyway, that Kurukshetra battle happens. But when everyone got killed, she was very affected when all her sons died in the battle of Kurukshetra, and she wanted to curse Bhimasena and Yudhishthira. But she was checked by Vyasadeva. Her mourning of the death of Duryodhana and Dusasana before Lord Krishna was very pitiful, and Lord Krishna pacified her by transcendental messages. So she was equally grieved on the death of Karna, and she described to Lord Krishna the lamentation of Karna's wife. So she was pacified by Srila Vyasadeva, when he showed her dead sons, then promoted to the heavenly kingdoms. She died along with her husband in the jungles of Himalaya near the mouth of the Ganges. That's a portion that's going to come towards the end of this chapter. So when Dhritarashtra quits, the chaste lady, she also follows. And Dhritarashtra gives up his body, entering the fire. She also enters the fire. She burned in forest fire. Maharaj Yudhishthira performed the death ceremony of his uncle and aunt. So that's all about Gandhari. We're already at 7:22. Do I need to say anything? Is it good enough at this point about Gandhari? Do I need to go slow? Is everyone okay with that? Only have 1, 2, 3. Okay, moving on to Pritha, Kunti Devi, Pritha. And she's not mentioned here. Prabhupada doesn't mention here as chaste lady. But of course, in the previous chapter, Prabhupada says that in the 8th chapter, not Prabhupada, the translation itself says, the chaste devotee of the Lord. Thus say from the tradition of Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons, and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna. So that is where Prabhupada explains. Kunti is chaste because of her unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. The reason she became chaste is that a chaste devotee of the Lord does not look to others, namely any other living being or demigod, from the deliverance of danger. And then Queen Kunti offers her prayers. Okay. So we will see about Queen Kunti in this. We'll have 2 paragraphs about her. Okay, going a little bit reading fast. Daughter of Maharaj Surasena, sister of Vasudeva. Lord Krishna's father. Basically, she is a sister of Vasudeva, Krishna's aunt, daughter of Vasudeva. But later, she was adopted by Maharaj Kunti Bhoja. Hence, she is known as Kunti. She is the incarnation of the success potency of the personality of Godhead. The heavenly denizens from the upper planets used to visit the palace of King Kunti Bhoja, and Kunti was engaged for their reception. So like, how Narada Muni used to serve the sages in the previous chapter, she was also serving all the great people visiting the palace, his father's palace. So she also served the great mystic sage Durvasa. And being satisfied by her faithful service, Durvasa Muni gave her a mantra by which it was possible for her to call for any demigod she pleased. As a matter of inquisitiveness, she at once called for the sun god, who desired couplement with her. But she declined. But the sun god assured her immunity from virgin adulteration, and so she agreed to his proposal. As a result of this couplement, she became pregnant, and Karna was born by her. By the grace of the sun, she again turned into a virgin girl, but being afraid of her parents, she quitted the newly born child Karna. After that, when she actually selected her own husband, she preferred Pandu to be her husband. Okay, she has the mantra, she has the couplement with sun, but she cannot carry the newborn before marriage. And now she got married to Pandu. Maharaj Pandu later wanted to retire from family life and adopt the renounced order of life. Kunti refused to allow her husband to adopt such a life, but at last Maharaj Pandu gave her permission to become mother of sons by calling some other suitable personalities. So again, Pandu is giving her permission to get sons by using her mantra again. Kunti did not accept this proposal at first, but when vivid examples were set by Pandu, She agreed. Thus, by dint of the mantra awarded by Durvas Muni, she called for Dharmaraja. And thus, Yudhishthira was born. She called for the demigod Vayu, air. And thus, Bhima was born. She called for Indra, king of heaven. And thus, Arjuna was born. The other two sons, namely Nakula and Sahadeva, were begotten by Pandu himself in the womb of Madri. Later on, Maharaj Pandu died at an early age, for which Kunti was so aggrieved that she fainted. So, two co-wives, namely Kunti and Madri, decided that Kunti should live for maintenance of the 5 minor children. The Pandavas and Madri should accept the sati rituals by meeting voluntary death along with her husband. So basically here, Pandu died early, and sati ritual is that her wife also follows the husband voluntarily. And Kunti and Madri, they both wanted to join Pandu, but but it was decided Kunti should live because they have these children, 5 children. It was decided to live and take care of the children, and Madri enters the sati ritual. So this agreement was endorsed by great sages like Satsranga and others present on the occasion. Okay, so that was the early part of her life. Later on, when the Pandavas were banished from the kingdom by the intrigues of Duryodhana, Kunti followed her sons, and she equally faced all sorts of difficulties during those days. During the forest life, one demon girl, Hidimba, wanted Bhima as her husband. Bhima refused, but when the girl approached Kunti and Yudhishthira, they ordered Bhima to accept her proposal and give her a son. So Bhima gets married to the demon Hidimba and gets the son. As a result of this combination, Gatotkacha was born, and he fought very valiantly with his father against the Kauravas. In their forest life, they lived with a Brahmana family that was in trouble because of Bakasura demon, and Kunti ordered Bhima to kill the Bakasura to protect the Brahmana family against troubles created by the demon. So this happened in the Ekachakra. They were in incognito. There was this demon, and they were staying with the Brahmana family, and Kunti sends Bhima. Basically there was a agreement with the villagers there that the demon will be supplied food, cartload of food, and demon just eats the cart and the food and the bulls and the person driving. So when that's the time Kunti and Pandavas are staying with them in incognito. So Kunti asked Bhima to go, and Bhima just takes care of Bakasura demon. So she advised Yudhishthira to start for the Panchala Desa. So Draupadi was gained in this Panchala Desa by Arjuna, but again, by the order of Kunti, all 5 of the Pandava brothers became equally the husbands of Panchali or Draupadi. She was married with 5 Pandavas in the presence of Vyasadeva. Kunti Devi never forgot her first child Karna, and after Karna's death in the battle of Kurukshetra, she lamented and admitted before her other sons that Karna was her eldest son prior to her marriage with Maharaj Pandu. Her prayers for the Lord after the battle of Kurukshetra, when Lord Krishna was going back home, are excellently explained. Later, she went to the forest with Gandhari for severe penance. She used to take meals after each 30 days, and she finally sat down in the profound meditation and later burned to ashes in the forest fire. Basically, what's happening here is the beauty of Bhagavatam is that Bhagavatam gives the culture to us. Of course, Bhagavad Gita gives the teaching about the spirituality and so on, right? That we are soul, what we are supposed to do, and all the principles and theory. The Bhagavatam helps us how to conduct, what to do. And here we are hearing, so far we are hearing from Draupadi and, not Draupadi, Gandhari and Kunti, how they handle various situations in their life. Even just by thinking about them, it is so uplifting, and our higher qualities will come up. And also, we are receiving all this from Bhagavatam and the great personalities. Our devotion to Krishna also just perks up like anything. So we covered so far about Kunti Devi and Gandhari. They were the family heads or family leaders. Now we are going to come to little younger personalities, Draupadi and Subhadra. Okay, I think we will be hitting until 7:40, 7 more minutes. I'll try to finish. Draupadi, the most chaste daughter of Maharaj Drupada, and partly an incarnation of goddess Sachi, the wife of Indra. Maharaj Drupada performed a great sacrifice under the superintendence of the sage Yaja. By his first offering, Drishtadyumna was born, and by the second offering, Draupadi was born. She is therefore the sister of Drishtadyumna, and she is also named Panchali. The 5 Pandavas married her as a common wife, and each of them begot a son in her. Maharaj Yudhishthira begot a son named Pratibit, Bhimasena begot a son named Sutasoma, Arjuna begot Shrutakirti, Nakula begot Shatanika, and Sahadeva begot Shrutakarma. She is described as the most beautiful lady, equal to her mother-in-law, Kunti. During her birth, there was an arrow message that she should be called Krishna. See, her name is another name is also Krishna. Of course, she is also a little dark in color, so that's also another reason for her name Krishna. So the same message also declared that she was born to kill many Kshatriya. By dint of her blessings from Shankara, she was awarded 5 husbands equally qualified. When she preferred to select her own husband, princes and kings were invited from all the countries of the world. It was a pretty elaborate Swayamvara, a lot of things. Actually, she's so beautiful. A lot of people get into trouble because of her beauty. And even Karna is so upset on her from the beginning. She was married with the Pandavas during their exile in the forest. But when they went back home, Maharaj Drupada gave them immense wealth as a dowry. She was well received by all the daughters-in-law of Dhritarashtra. When she was lost in the gambling game, she was forcibly dragged into the assembly hall, and an attempt was made by Dussasana to see her naked beauty, even though there were elderly persons like Bhishma and Drona present. She was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and by her praying, the Lord himself became an unlimited garment to save her from the insult. Lord himself became an unlimited garment to save her from the insult. She went through a lot more. A demon of the name Jatashira kidnapped her, but her second husband Bhimasena killed the demon and saved her. She saved the Pandavas from the curse of Maharaj Durvasa by the grace of Lord Krishna. When the Pandavas lived incognito in the palace of Virata, Kichika was attracted by her exquisite beauty, and by arrangement with Bhima, the devil was killed and she was saved. So she was very much aggrieved when her 5 sons were killed by Aswadhama. So at the last stage, she accompanied her husband Yudhishthira and others and fell on the way. The cause of her falling was explained by Yudhishthira. But when Yudhishthira entered the heavenly planet, he saw Draupadi gloriously present there as the goddess of fortune in the heavenly planet. Of course, Bhagavatam also says she flew on her own plane. Basically, like this is the transcendental science, So different personalities come, merge, and all these things. And she's also got incarnation of goddess for Sachi Devi, all those things. Okay. So that's all about Draupadi. And in our list, final one is our Lord's dearest sister, Subhadra. Hey, here you go. Daughter of Vasudeva and sister of Lord Shri Krishna. She was not only a very dear daughter of Vasudeva, but also a very dear sister to both Lord Krishna and Baladeva. The two brothers and sisters are represented in the famous Jagannath temple of Puri, and the temple is still visited by thousands of pilgrims daily. This temple is in remembrance of the Lord's visit at Kurukshetra during an occasional solar eclipse, and his subsequent meeting with the residents of Vrindavan. The meeting of Radha and Krishna during this occasion is a very pathetic story, and Lord Sri Chaitanya, in the ecstasy of Radharani, always pined for Lord Sri Krishna at Jagannath Puri. So, when Arjuna was at Dwarka, he wanted to have Subhadra as his queen, and he has expressed his desire to Lord Krishna. Shri Krishna knew that his elder brother, Lord Baladeva, was arranging her marriage elsewhere. And since he did not dare to go against the arrangement of Baladeva, he advised Arjuna to kidnap Subhadra. So, when all of them on a pleasure trip on the Raivata hill, Arjuna managed to kidnap Subhadra according to the plan of Shri Krishna. But Shri Baladeva was very angry at Arjuna, and he wanted to kill him. But Lord Krishna implored his brother to excuse Arjuna. Then Subhadra was duly married with Arjuna, and Abhimanyu was born of Subhadra. At the premature death of Abhimanyu, Subhadra was mortified, but on the birth of Parikshit, she was happy and solaced. So that's all about the profiles of the chaste ladies from the history of the world. And out of the big group that are hurrying with great delight to see Vidura are these four people: Gandhari, Kunti Devi, Draupadi, and Subhadra. And more will be coming up in the next verses. So that's all about today's topics. It's already 7:40. I don't know. Should we extend 5 more minutes, Lingaraju Prabhu? One wants to say anything?
Hare Krishna, Vamshidhari Prabhu. Please explain humble obeisances. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Speaking about these wonderful devotees of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavatam and mothers of such great personalities. Prabhu, I was trying to just understand the sequence of the events. So Vidura visited here to deliver Dhritarashtra, but before that he met Maitreya. Of course, in Bhagavatam it comes later.
Yeah.
And the discussion and everything comes in the third canto, I guess, from third to fifth cantos. But by the time Vidura visited Hastinapura to deliver his brother, Krishna had already left the planet, right?
Yeah.
So this is happening after Krishna's leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. That's all I wanted to understand. Actually.
Yes, Prabhu, yeah.
Thank you,
Krishna
Prabhu.
already left.
No, but here Pandavas are still there, right?
Pandavas are still there.
They haven't got the news yet. They
haven't got the news yet.
Okay. Yeah, Arjuna comes and declare. I mean, he mentions about. So Subhadra is here. Maybe Arjuna is is in Dwarka at that time. I mean, it appears.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Parallel events are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Here, this discussion comes like a detour. basically like the sages ask numerous questions to Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami just goes with the Aswadama, killing of Aswadama, punishing of Aswadama, and then he was going in that flow.
Yeah.
And then Sonika Rishi comes back, please tell about Parikshit Maharaj. That was in the previous chapter. Now, that flow is, it's disconnected now, Sutta Goswami is coming back.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Okay.
I think in 11 and 12 it talks about the same point, right, Prabhu? I mean, when Maharaj Yudhishthira will inquire all these questions from Vidur, I think he doesn't tell about that.
Yeah, it's not. It's coming up. Yes. Okay. That's it, Prabhu. Then. Thank you so much for letting me read about and remember these wonderful personalities. I really like, especially Draupadi. She was just such an exemplary lady. She manages many things, and of course, getting to know her, how much she went through. So it was a great delight. Thank you, Hare Krishna.